Hello, third grade superstars. It is so good to be with you again today. This is Dr. Davis, ready for us to learn more about classification of animals. Let's do a little review. Do you remember what we talked about in our last lesson? I have a clue here. Birds. So can you tell me, what are the characteristics of birds? There were several things that we learned that makes birds very, very different from other animals. Let's see if you remember. Birds are warm-blooded. They are vertebrates. They also have wings. All birds have wings. And feathers. Now, they don't all fly, but they all have wings and they all have feathers. They lay eggs, and birds build nests. And we learned that the nests look very different, but they do build nests. Now, what do you think we're going to talk about today? What is the animal group that we have not yet talked about? We've talked about amphibians, birds, reptiles, and fish. There's one more group of Mr. Rattenborough's friends. So today I want you listening for information about mammals. Mammals are the last group of animals that you will learn about. So listen carefully so that you can identify the characteristics of mammals. Well, boys and girls, it's me, Rattenborough, back again. Today, we're going to talk about a group of animals that you already know a little something about, based on your own personal experience. Hilda Hippo is one of these, and I also am one of these. Yes, Hilda is a mammal, and guess what? You are mammals too. Who can name some of the characteristics of mammals? In what ways are you like Hilda and me? Yes, we are warm-blooded vertebrates with hair. I think you can help me teach this lesson. Let's begin with the name of this group, mammals. It comes from the Latin word mammalia. The word mammalia refers to a group of animals who possess mammary glands. Can you say that with me? Mammary glands, that's right. Mammary glands are milk-producing organs belonging to female mammals. When female mammals give birth, they secrete a nourishing substance called milk, and that's for feeding their young. That is one of the primary characteristics of mammals. We feed our young milk. That's right. Rats drink mother's milk, hippopotami drink mother's milk, and so do humans. The mother's milk has all the nourishment that a baby needs. A baby rat that has its mother nearby never has to raid or charge through garbage cans for food. He can stay inside where it's warm, enjoying a lovely liquid meal prepared by his mother's own body. Looking at this slide makes me a little sad when I think back on the days when my mom always had a warm meal ready for me. Before the days when I became an adult and now have to hunt, sometimes for long, grueling days, just to find a scrap and excuse me. Excuse me, students. I just got lost in a lovely memory from my childhood. Please forgive me, and we'll get back to the slides on mammals. After all, the show must go on. Mammals have backbones. Reach around, remember, and check your back once more to make sure your backbone is still there. Of course it is. Without backbones, we wouldn't be able to sit up straight or hold our heads up in the air. And our spinal cords that house the nerves, remember that spinal cord has the nerves in it that sends messages to our brains. It would be unprotected. So because we all have backbones, scientists calls us what? You're so smart. Yes, quite right. We are all vertebrates. Reptiles, amphibians, and fish all have a relatively low metabolism, and as you have learned, are classified as cold-blooded animals. Like birds, mammals such as this horse have a high metabolism, burning lots of energy to help maintain a constant internal body temperature. What is the term that taxonomists use to classify mammals in terms of body temperature? Yes, you are correct. We are all warm-blooded. One of you was right when you said that mammals are covered in hair or fur. Some of us are hairier than others. Hilda hippo and other hippopotami don't look so hairy, do they? But you might remember that they do have a little bit of hair around their mouths and on the tips of their ears and their tails. Let's take a look at a few of our furrier friends. Here's one of my favorite mammals. I love his stately long neck and envy his ability to reach high into the trees to eat leaves and to see into the distance. I'll bet that if I were as tall as a giraffe, I could spot my enemies more quickly. Does anyone know what this other animal is? Do you have an idea out there? It's a yak. Yaks need their shaggy hair and dense woolly undercoats to help keep them warm on the cold Tibetan plateau where they live. Look at this Bengal tiger and this beautiful snow leopard of Central Asia. Both of these cat species are on the list of endangered species, a list of animals whose numbers have dwindled down due to the loss of habitats and overhunting. Furry bears come in all shapes and sizes and live in all different parts of the world. Look at this giant panda here in the middle. It has many characteristics found among different kinds of bears, polar bears, black bears, grizzly bears, and sun bears. The giant panda is a good example of an animal which has proven challenging to classify. Taxonomists have actually changed their minds about which animal it is most closely related to. They used to classify the giant panda with the red panda in a group that includes raccoons. Now, with the help of more modern scientific tools, taxonomists believe that the giant panda is more closely related to bears, even though it mostly eats bamboo. Does anyone know what this animal is? It's a marmot, a type of squirrel. And here's another type of squirrel, a flying squirrel. Look at that. These squirrels don't really fly, but they have two folds of skin on the sides of their body that let them take great leaps, gliding through the air with the help of their tails for steering. The only mammals that can truly fly are bats. They have skin between their long fingers that stretches out, turning arms into wings when they open. Bats may sing like birds, but they are not because they have no feathers. They actually have fine fur, and bats give birth to live young. So that means they don't lay eggs. I think you'll recognize these more common mammals, and I'll bet some of you have furry mammal pets, don't you? Take a look at the fur on this cat. Now that's what I call furry. This is a Maine Coon cat. I must say, his fur puts my fur to shame. Most, but not all mammals are terrestrial, meaning they live on land. Can anyone think of an aquatic mammal, a mammal that lives in water? I'll give you a hint. Come closer. One of them is my friend Hilda. Ah, yes, hippopotami love the water, but they are actually semi-aquatic, meaning they live partly in water and partly on land. Usually Hilda and other hippopotami stand in the water during the day. Do you know why? To keep cool. Then they graze on land when evening falls. Through recent study and discussion, taxonomists now think that the closest living relatives of hippopotami are whales, which are fully aquatic mammals. Scientists used to think that hippos were most closely related to pigs, but now new information from modern scientific tools is changing the way hippos are classified. Whales are marine mammals, meaning they live in the ocean. The blue whale is not only the largest mammal, it is the largest animal on Earth. Blue whales can grow up to 100 feet long. That's a little longer than a basketball court. Can you imagine seeing an animal that big? Its tongue alone weighs more than 3 tons. Imagine that. Manatees and smaller whales, such as dolphins and porpoises, are also fully aquatic marine mammals. They share saltwater seas with walruses and seals, semi-aquatic animals that like to wander on shore just like Hilda Hippo does. Marine mammals are believed by scientists to have evolved from land mammals, and they share many of the same characteristics. They are warm-blooded, have backbones, and fur or hair, even though sometimes it is the tiniest amount of hair, and they breathe oxygen from the air. Remember when we talked about how fish use gills to breathe in oxygen from the water? Remember how in amphibians, those gills develop into lungs, requiring amphibians to come to the surface of the water to breathe air? Well, mammals also have lungs. All mammals have lungs and an underlying diaphragm that assists in breathing. When the diaphragm tightens, it creates more space in the lung cavity, and air is drawn into the lungs. All mammals, including whales and porpoises, dolphins and manatees, must come up to the surface every now and then to breathe. Some mammals also live in fresh water. I want to introduce to you another semi-aquatic relative of mine. This is the capybara. He, like me, is classified as a rodent and likes to swim. Have I told you incidentally that I, Rattenborough, am a good swimmer? I am rather proud of that fact. The capybara can stay underwater for a full 5 minutes without coming up for air, a feat that helps him escape predators. Did you know that capybaras are one of the favorite foods of anacondas like Anna? Another semi-aquatic mammal, also a rodent, is the beaver. You've got the beaver right here. It makes its home near rivers along with river otters. One of the most unusual semi-aquatic mammals is the duck-billed platypus. It has a large rubbery bill like a duck in the bird group, the flat, broad tail of a beaver in the mammal group, and reptilian webbed feet. This odd, venomous creature lives in Australian waters. The duck-billed platypus is unusual for another reason. It is one of only a few mammals that lay eggs. Spiny anteaters, also natives of Australia and nearby islands, are the only other egg-laying mammal. All other mammals are live-bearing, which means they give birth to live young. The young are nourished inside the mother's body, and most are fully developed when they are born, looking like smaller versions of their parents. A few, like kangaroos and opossums, are part of a group of mammals called marsupials. Marsupial babies are very underdeveloped when they are born, but they move directly to the mother's protective pouch to be nourished by her milk. All mammals, whether hatched from eggs or born live, feed on the mother's milk in their infancy. That means when they are a baby or an infant. As warm-blooded animals with high metabolic rates, mammals must eat more food than other animals their size in order to store enough energy to keep their bodies warm. So, what do mammals eat? Think of all the different types of mammals that you've learned about today. Think about your own diet. Do you eat the same foods as cats or dogs? Do elephants eat oranges? Do whales eat green beans? Mammals eat a variety of foods depending on where they live. Some mammals are carnivores or meat eaters. Others are herbivores, eating only plants. Some still eat both plants and animals, and they are called, yes, omnivores. Remember learning that birds' beaks may provide clues to their diets? Well, the same is true of mammals' mouths. Wide mouths and sharp pointed teeth suggest that these mammals are, what do you think? Carnivores. Wolves, whales, and bats are all carnivores. Herbivores are more likely to have long jaws, long tongues, and flat teeth. Deer, sheep, monkeys, and pandas are all herbivores. Omnivorous mammals include bears, opossums, chipmunks, and mice. Many humans are omnivores, but humans think about the choices they make about what to eat. Omnivores generally have sharper front teeth and flat teeth for chewing in the back of their mouths. Think about your mouth. Do you think humans were designed to eat meat, only plants, or both meat and plants? Why? Why do you think that? Next time, we'll look at the last of my slides. Be ready for a review of the 5 vertebrate groups of the animal kingdom: amphibians, mammals, birds, fish, and reptiles. I'm sure you are all becoming quite skilled at classifying animals, and we'll get to have some fun with doing just that. Can't wait to see you soon. All right, friends, now let's go over our comprehension questions for today. Our first question: what are the characteristics that classify an animal as a mammal? Think about those things that we learned about today. Yes, they are warm-blooded. What else? They're vertebrates. What else? Yes, they drink milk from the mother. Is there anything else? Yes, they have hair or fur as a covering. Anything else? They give birth to live young, and the live young look like a smaller version of their parents. Our second question: how are mammals and birds alike? Let's think about that. Yes, mammals are warm-blooded and birds are warm-blooded. Is there anything else that makes them alike? And they both are vertebrates. That's exactly right. Our next question: how are mammals and birds different? Yes, birds have wings and feathers. Mammals don't have wings, and they have hair or fur as a covering. What's something else that's different about mammals and birds? Birds lay eggs. Mammals typically do not lay eggs. They have live young. That's another way that they are different. Birds live in nests, and mammals don't live in nests. Great job, friends. Our last question: what is the purpose of the mammary glands? Remember, we talked about the mammary glands, and that's a very important characteristic for mammals. Yes, the mammary glands are important because that's the organ that produces milk in female mammals so that they would have milk for their live young. And now it's time for a brain break. So I want you to stand up once again. And this time we have learned about all kinds of animals. So I'm going to give you one thing to do, and I want to see how well you can do these things that I'm going to say. Our first thing is that I want you to bark like a dog. Oh, I hear someone doing a deep roof, 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 roof. Ooh, and then I hear a good job. And what kind of animal is a dog? You got it, a mammal. All right, act like you're riding a horse. Have you ever ridden a horse? Sometimes you may be doing like this, or you're doing giddy up, giddy up, giddy up. What kind of horse are you riding? A little one or a big one? Good job. This time, you're going to act like the mammal, a baby. Are you crying? Wah, wah, wah. Or are you sucking a bottle? Or are you babbling? All of those things, yes. Great job acting like a baby. And the last one, act like any animal. What animal would you like to act like? I guess what I am. I've got a long neck. What do you think I am? That wasn't a very good giraffe impersonation, but I was a giraffe. Great job. Now let's get back to work. Okay, friends, now it's time for our word work. In the read aloud today, you heard Rattenborough describing a giraffe and saying, I love his stately long neck. Say the word stately with me. Stately. When something is stately, it is grand or impressive in size or manner. For example, the king and queen lived in a stately mansion. Have you ever witnessed anything that was stately? What was it and where were you? I was recently in Washington, D.C., and I could say that the Lincoln Memorial was very stately. While I was there, I also saw the Martin Luther King Memorial. So I could also say the Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial is very stately. So what's the word we've been talking about? Stately. What part of speech is stately? Stately is actually an adjective because it's a describing word. Friends, you have done an amazing job learning about mammals and the characteristics of mammals. Come back next time so we can talk about the habitats in which these 5 animal groups live. See you then.